The perfect way to start out a Friday edition of Mornings in Meridian. You good?
I'm too fat for Friday.
I love it. Good morning, folks. Welcome into Mornings in Meridian. We're just 12 minutes into the 7 o'clock hour. A little possum to get us going here on a Friday morning. You know the ways to stay connected to the show. Our number, 601-485-9191. Of course, online at WALTmeridian.com. And for those folks who like to use Facebook, WALT Talk Radio, like and follow us. And Facebook, we do it. And we're going to have a fun Friday today. But Rob, behind the controls, pushing the buttons, being sure we stay afloat at least and patch the holes as we go. And also in this morning is Dr. Toby Bates.
How are you?
Hello.
Hey, you were doing his name will be George.
His name will be George.
You were doing thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. It's a Friday.
It was a Friday. It was about, maybe 2 weeks ago, which is great because folks had noticed, and we talked about this.
Yeah.
I was coming back and guest hosting about every 30 days, and some people put a connection together with community service. And
the window closed so slightly.
That's right. So as you know, when you're in the last 4 weeks of community service, you only have to do it, Had a hard time getting here. There's a new wall that's being built. So that was, slowed me down.
Thanks, Alejandro.
And then when I got to the studio, some idiot pulled the fire alarm. And so, I didn't mean to, though. I was confused by these things called doors.
I know, right? Good Lord.
And you would think I would have been born, raised in houses with doors. Can I mention this real quick?
Absolutely.
Lots of folks are asking about these WALT Mornings in Meridian. Am I getting it?
There it is. Yeah, you're getting it live on the camera. There.
All right.
That's right. Yeah, that's live right there.
Yeah, they're only $49.99.
Wow, that's a deal.
That's right. And meet me behind the dumpster on 8th Street, and I'll sell you some of these. And we are out of our Roger Burke and Billy Jack action figures.
Yeah, I think you can buy those for 50 cents down at the thrift store.
Well, you wind up Roger, and he makes money. Right? He'll make more. Well, I owe him money. He's great at making money.
Yeah.
And I owe him money. And then Billy Jack, you wind him up, and he beats up all your other action figures.
There you go. Makes sense. Or he's going to drive faster than all of them.
That's right. But thanks for having me back.
We got a fun show for you. It is a fun Friday, folks. It's been a very busy week here on the show. A lot of local topics we've been discussing. So we're just... we're going to bring all that kind of stuff up today, but we're going to have some fun in between all this as well. Of course, during the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to have several guests in the studio. Of course, storytelling time with the railroad tomorrow. We'll be talking more about that during the 8 o'clock hour. But let's start out the program this morning by thanking our friends. Just a short drive up to Philadelphia. And, folks, if you're looking for a new vehicle to get you around during the fall season, go to ball games, take that little weekend trip, well, take the short drive up to Philadelphia to Doc's Toyota.
I saw recently on the news that one of the few, car brands that's doing really well this year is Toyota. Yeah. In fact, they're up 7% in sales. And I can't help but notice a correlation between Doc's Toyota and Toyota selling better.
Bingo.
And folks, exactly like Rob was saying, you're thinking right now a new car or a pre-owned car. I don't have time for that. Gas is so much. Well, bingo right there. First of all, with a Toyota, you're going to be able to go for 40 forevers on that gas tank.
Yeah.
Right. The engine will last you longer than Joe Biden will live. Right. So that's extraordinary right there. Plus, you get great service at Doc's Toyota up in Philadelphia. And, we have Christmas coming up.
That's right.
The decorations have been in the stores since June.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got that child who went off to college, and they did what they said. No jail time, and they passed all their classes. What a great way to reward them.
Check the boxes.
That's right. Take him up to Doc's. It's up in Philadelphia. It's 120 Highway 16 West. All right. You can also give them a shout, give them a call at 600-3786. And the great thing about Doc's is you get that old-fashioned service. They don't try to throw an extra warranty here, or we can get you, for $15 more a month, you'll get this. You go in there and you tell them exactly what you're looking for. You tell them your driving habits. You tell them who's going to be driving it, what kind of safety concerns you have, and they will take you around their lot. Plus, you can go online. You can also go online and look at their virtual lot as well.
Yep.
So don't take my word for it. Take WALT's word for it. If they advertise on this station, they're quality folks. Go by and see them. Doc's Toyota, Philadelphia, Mississippi, 601-600-3786. You'll always feel better after going to the Doc's.
Absolutely. And of course, Toby, first, I know we're kind of rehashing this. I know we've had the vote on Tuesday. We've talked about it every morning, but we had Paul Tarver on the show yesterday to get his thoughts on it. Now to get your thoughts on it, of course, last time you were here, we kind of dissected the school bond vote a good bit, and now the vote is well behind us now. It was back on Tuesday, and the overwhelming results went against that. Just to get your thoughts on the breakdown of the vote back on Tuesday.
Well, Tuesday evening around 7:30, I grabbed the Bible and hit my knees because I heard something crash.
Wow.
You know, and I started thinking about how I learned about hell growing up, you know, and hi-yo, you know, 2-syllable hell. I'm thinking Armageddon. No, it was this bond issue completely failing. And not just being outvoted. I mean, this is a good old-fashioned stomping.
Yeah.
And as we talked about, and folks, I really appreciate you reaching out to the station and giving credit to the station. Give all the credit to Rob for staying on top of this and giving this information out. It was, you know, it's, hey, we want $12.5 million more, although we've got $6 million left over from this earlier bond issue.
Sure.
The architect's not showing up to all the meetings. We have a handful of students, but we think if we build it, they will come, the Career and Tech Center. Oh, by the way, though, you're going to vote in a different month, and you're going to vote in a different location. And there were just a lot of questions folks had, and they weren't getting satisfactory answers. So the first thing that jumped out at me, honestly, all kidding aside, was the turnout.
Yeah, I mean, we had said on the show, was it Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday, the day of the vote, when Charles Frazier was on with us that morning. We had said somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 is what we thought. And when I saw that number come in well over 5,000, I was like, wow.
Right.
And, of course, that did include the absentee votes.
Sure.
Which was like 200-300, something like that. But still, pretty good for a one-ballot initiative, and especially when folks had to go to different precincts and drive halfway across the county. Yours truly had to do that. Wasn't excited about it, but I did it. And but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But I did not expect the number to be that big.
And what I liked about it was those who were for it and those who were against it. Both groups knew why.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
as an historian, folks were passionate, folks were informed, folks were involved.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that. And the one thing that Lauderdale County has proven, I think, over the years, especially places like West Lauderdale where my kids went, you know, Kelly,
which had the highest vote total, by the way.
Yeah, they sure did. You know,
over 2,000. Yeah.
You know, and Kelly was the valedictorian. But enough about me.
Yeah.
And my daughter. But no. The one thing the county has certainly proven is that they care about the education of the students. This wasn't a group of people against this because they didn't want the students to move forward, have the best education possible.
Sure.
You know, you can look at these different schools. You can look at Clarkdale, Southeast, Northeast, West Lauderdale. Look at the quality of teachers they have, programs they have. These folks care about youth and education. But this bond issue, just to put it frankly, didn't pass the smell test.
No. But isn't it amazing, though? And I think one thing we have not brought up on this show since we've been talking about the results from Wednesday until this morning, people have got to get involved in this process. And I think, isn't this amazing? You know, we look at schools, and you go back to when Glenn Youngkin won governor of Virginia. What was his big issue that really got people passionate? Schools. And of course it was about COVID, masking and stuff like that. That really got people going. But look at the passion that Lauderdale County showed when it came to schools. Came to schools, and of course taxes too, because when folks start talking about raising your taxes, that's when their ears perk up immediately and start paying attention. But when it came to a school issue, moms and dads really came to the forefront and had a lot of questions. And like I said, I'm going to say this again, I think the big tipping point in this whole process was the Clarkdale meeting, because they still have a lot of issues out there. The tornado that came through, the buildings that have not been, you know, fixed up to par, and they got the mold issues out there, and that was kind of not brought to the forefront to the parents. When you start upsetting Mama Bear, she's going to defend her cubs.
That's right.
And we've seen a lot of that. But a lot of people say, well, 5,000 plus still isn't a lot of people. It's a lot better than we thought it was going to be.
Absolutely.
Considering it's a one initiative deal on a ballot, and you got to drive to a way different place to go vote. And like I said, I give credit to the county school district. I said this yesterday and Wednesday. The voting process was very easy. They had signage up. They had fencing up to kind of separate you from the school children, so that way you weren't, wandering hallways and stuff like this. So they took the proper steps to be sure the process was easy for you. So.
And people who were for the bond issue and against the bond issue, they were all concerned about voting at these schools.
Yeah,
while
I
school
was
going on, right?
Yeah.
And what is traffic going to be like? Hopefully, those who support it will show up. Those who are against it will show up. Both sides were saying.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Clarkdale. A situation where you have damage, you have these teachers who are they're so much more than teachers now. They're social workers, right?
Yeah.
They're nurses. Yeah. They're counselors. Sometimes, sadly, they're the only adult who will give a particular child the time of day.
Sure.
And you want to give them the best tools, right? And the best atmosphere. And you've still got people in temporary buildings there.
Yeah.
With not all the tools at their disposal, and they show up every single day and put it out there.
And I just want to let folks know, yours truly, this station, we're not anti-school, anti-CTE. We're not anti-this, we're anti-that. We just wanted to bring you the information out,
right?
Let you call the show and be a part of that. And the one thing I've heard, because I'm more plugged into the Clarkdale area because that's where I went and voted, and I know a lot of folks that are involved in that school. Their biggest issue was, let's worry about what we have, and then we can check the other boxes later.
Right.
That was their biggest reasoning for voting no. But
I didn't really run across many people who were against the bond issue who were necessarily against a career in tech education center. It was how to get there. And what are we doing with what we have right now?
Yeah.
Right. And so, we'd love to do this, but like you said, let's concentrate on what we have right now, and let's clear up a little bit the path to this tech center. Yeah.
So, but anyway, I just want to get your thoughts on that. First show since we've had you since the results came in on Tuesday. And, of course, we're not done voting yet.
No.
We're about a month away from the general election now. A lot of local races. They're going to be very interesting. Obviously, the primary was the big one. Obviously, a lot of folks were really passionate about the sheriff's race. And I think this next round here, I think the local race that's going to get a lot of attention is going to be the coroner's race.
Oh, man.
Rita Jack and Stella McMahon will be a big one. And, of course, a lot of other races will be kind of close to watch. So we're not done voting just yet.
But it's a wonderful problem to have, that the reason those races are so important is the quality that we have had in the sheriff's office.
Absolutely.
The quality we have had in the coroner's office, right? It's not a job that just anyone can do. And so people have an expectation of that quality continuing, or at least doing the best they can. The reason I didn't run, who would want to follow these two people?
I know, right?
That's and plus I don't live here.
There you go.
So big reason.
But yeah, we're about a month away from another election here in Lauderdale County. So hopefully folks will have the same passion they had during this whole process with the school bond issue. 601-485-9191 is our number, but it always comes back to another issue that we need to have a lot of passion on, and that's fixing this crime problem here in Meridian. So I know first show since we've had you on, since we've had several more shootings as well.
Right.
I know we were talking about the Dollar Tree shooting before we went on the air this morning. We're just kind of sharing some details about that, and of course there's been several others after that, and the one at the Dollar Tree just kind of breaks your heart. I know we were talking about that a good deal before we got on the air this morning.
Well, I mean, Rob and I get here around 3 a.m. because we do this incredible show prep.
Yeah.
But we were discussing that, and of course the element, and it's sad that this young lady is shot 5 times.
Yeah.
But the element that people keep going to is the fact there was a 2-year-old there, right? And that's where my heart immediately went, right?
Yeah.
There's a 2-year-old there. Was the 2-year-old hurt? What did the 2-year-old see? What kind of effect this is going to have a 2-year-old? But a young lady was shot 5 times.
Yeah.
Right? And the individuals are still at large.
Yeah.
Right? And this wasn't at midnight behind a dumpster, right? Again, this
Before
was
9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And on North Hills, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember the other streets. But, North Hills, heavily trafficked area.
Probably
right?
the most heavily trafficked area in Meridian, I would venture to say.
That's right. And so these were 2 individuals that didn't seem to care if they were seen, or didn't seem to think that somebody might pull over and help this young lady, right? There might be a concealed carry person going by in their cars, and they made their decision. They did what they did. Broad daylight. So do you feel safe anywhere? You know?
So yeah, and that's why I brought that up, because we can talk about CT programs, we can talk about economic development, this and that. Why aren't we getting business in here? Why aren't we getting industry in here? Another burger joint, this, another burger joint, that.
Right.
Bottom line is, it's a layered problem, and we've talked about it ad nauseum on this program a lot, and it always comes back to one of the top issues is that, and that's crime.
That's right.
Folks want to feel safe and secure in their homes and as they're venturing out and about here in Meridian, and unfortunately right now they do not.
And you're right. You could peel this avocado back, and there's so
You're-
many.
but that it always comes back to the root problem.
That's right.
That's at the middle of this whole thing, and until we fix it, guess what? We're just going to remain stagnant as we always have been. I mean, that's just the God's honest truth. We got to get this problem, as Barney Fife would say, nip it in the bud.
Nip it in the bud.
Exactly.
But when you concentrate on it, on that one single element, who I immediately think of are the men and women in uniform.
Yeah.
Who are out there facing it every single
And
day.
we don't have enough of them.
No, and they're receiving very little pay.
Yeah.
And these days, virtually no respect.
No, none whatsoever. So I said it was going to be a fun Friday. I just dive right off the deep end.
Well,
so
fun.
There you go. It is fun sometimes. So 601-485-9191 is our number if you want to chime in. Hey, let's thank our friends over at Ready to Roof. And, of course, we got a little bit of rain last night. I was so excited when you had a few raindrops falling. Folks, if you had the raindrops fall at your house and all of a sudden you look up at the ceiling and you're like, wait a minute, what's that leak all about? Well, you might need to call the staff at Ready to Roof, because simply it's time to look at maybe patching up that roof right there and getting something brand new there with Ready to Roof, because let's face it, they are Meridian's only certified master elite roofer.
They are, and again, they do not have a branch in North Mississippi, right?
Yeah, we're working on that.
And one thing we were talking about this morning, folks, is that the last time I was on the air, Kathy and I are getting back into our house the first week of October after our April tornado. Wrong again, right?
Yeah.
We had some things come up at the house. We've been pushed back a few more weeks. But you need the roofing folks to come out, not only when there's a big storm, all right? You need them to come out and look at your roof. They'll come out and give you a free estimate. Quite often, you think you need a new roof. They'll come out and say, no, you're fine. You're fine for a couple more years, right? Hailstorms, of course, when stuff falls from the sky, we think we need to have somebody come out and look at the roof. But folks, even extreme heat can affect your roof. Even extreme cold can affect your roof. And we're very fortunate here in Meridian to have Ready to Roof. So give them a call. Let them come by and show you with a free estimate how good they really are. 601-573-1150. 601-573-1150. Ready to Roof.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the program. Got Your Money Now and Fox News, and your phone calls as well. 601-485-9191. It's a fun Friday.
Indeed.
There we go. We'll take a break. Be back. Welcome back into Mornings in Meridian here on this fun Friday. Phone lines are lighting up, and let's go right to the phone calls this morning. See, that's what I do. I don't want to waste any time. Let's just go right to it.
Right to it.
Hey, caller, good morning.
MAGA morning, true American patriots.
Oh, highas.
Oh, my. Right off the first one.
I feel like that should be Haz's theme right there we just played, Highway to Hell.
Well, I hope I avoid that trip.
I know. I'm just messing with you for other reasons.
But I hope the road is to perdition is crowded with demon cats. I heard Miss Joe yesterday cut loose, and I was kind of, halfway just kind of kicking back, and I thought, kind of smoky in here, hot. What are those fires burning over there? And I had a Scooby-Doo moment, like, ruh-roh. Trump was right after all. Build that wall. Stand it with patriots, true at heart, and shoot them all.
That was my favorite Dr. Seuss book.
There you go.
He rhymed. Did you hear him rhyme?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I like it.
Well, the truth has a ring to it, but lies, they have a stench to it. And Biden and the demon cats and the agenda is to flood America with more parasites, more criminals, more invaders, more worthless dregs of humanity so they can give them amnesty and let them vote. It's all about power and control. They don't care about the safety of American citizens, the security of our borders, the sovereignty of our country. But let's look at a local level. I walked outside day before yesterday, about daybreak. Beautiful day starting out. Me and God had a little heart-to-heart. And lo and behold, 5 or 6 shots right down the street. And I'm thinking, no cherry juice leaking, not me. And I thought, well, I ought to call MPD. And I thought, why bother? That this is so commonplace nowadays, it's like hearing a dog bark. But I looked at the WLBT site, and they've got a little deal on there about Jackson crime and homicides. And I've been keeping up with him. It's been like 70. So I pinged it yesterday, and it was 101. So I called and got to the news department and talked to a nice woman over there, very good. And I said, something's wrong with your figures and all. She says, no, that's the correct figure. So in Jafrica, they're at 101 killed in action thus far this year.
You said 101.
101. Jackson, Mississippi is, by the FBI statistics, the most dangerous city per capita in the entire country, including Alaska and Hawaii.
Wow. But
we are making no attempts because we do not have the resolve, we do not have the leadership, we do not have the resources in MPD to make any inroads in stopping the shootings and the crime in Meridian. I've lived here coming up on 74 years, man. Back in the 50s and 60s, if somebody had said they'd had 10 murders in Meridian, they'd have thought, well, we must be having an invasion. We must be at a state of war. Well, we are at a state of war. People are scared to shop. They're scared to go places because the criminals are not scared. They're emboldened. We need to turn this around. You live in a free state, a constitutional carrier state, go get you a piece, just like Jesus told them boys. You go sell your garments and get you a sword. Now, he ain't talking about a Gideon New Testament. He's talking about a physical killing sword. If MPD won't make an attempt to stop it, the citizens need to stop it.
How long ago was it that the but he stopped Peter from using the sword. But anyway, that was later. Let me ask you about the supermarket shooting on North Hill Street. That occurred right after we moved here. So that's going on. I should remember that year, and I do not. But
well, I'm not good on memories of all, but
But that was a broad daylight shooting, too.
Yeah, it was.
It was. It was on Mother's Day. The man stopped in there to get his wife some flowers. He was an 87-year-old World War II veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school with his daughter, Billy Joe Putnam. I worked with his son-in-law, Raymond Mitchell, years and years and years at National Guard. That guy didn't have a bit of problem shooting, killing that old man.
Well, he was already wearing an anklet, and from what I understand from the testimony,
yeah, that did a lot of damn good, didn't it?
And when he got in the car, the one of the young ladies that was in there said, "Did you shoot that guy?" And he went, "Well, duh."
Wow.
You know, and that was again broad daylight.
This is the mentality of what we're up against. And if you're accosted, if you're threatened, dump the magazine or roll the wheel in that revolver. That's the only thing that's going to stop it. This kumbaya, let's all come together and love and pray for our enemies. I ain't never seen that work, and until I see it work, my sword's going to be on my side. Roger.
There we go. The has spoken this morning. So, but yeah, you're right about that other shooting right there. I mean, broad daylight.
Broad daylight.
On a Mother's Day. I mean, good grief.
Yeah, he walked up to the guy, and and he like Has said, he was getting the flowers. But that goes back to what Has said, something you and I were talking about, was the fact that there's no fear.
No, none whatsoever.
I mean, there's absolutely no fear. I mean, for whatever they were going to get from the young lady, right there off North Hill Street, I mean, how much money was that really going to get? I don't know how much she got at the ATM, right? Mm-hmm. But broad daylight, cars going back and forth, and didn't care. So what will stop it? What will, would have people gotten even more angry if the 2-year-old had gotten hurt?
Sure.
Well, what about all the kids in Chicago? And Memphis.
Right.
And Has said is in Jackson. It is an extraordinary thing to watch. It's almost like folks are accepting it as it's just the way things are now, and moving on.
And I've said this before, it's not a popular comment, but what is it going to take? Is it going to take someone prominent or someone, that is well known for that to happen?
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, that's been discussed 100 billion times.
Or some horrible episode with children or something.
I mean, it's you hate to even discuss that, but it has been brought up before. Just got a texter wrote me just a minute ago. There have been 11 murders here in Meridian. One hasn't been reported that is still under investigation. So, but just wanted to kind of throw that out there for you as well. So, let's go back to the phone line this morning. Hey, caller, good morning. Welcome in.
And aren't there a few people missing that are unaccounted for?
Correct.
Could possibly be murder victims. I guess I have a question for you two guys.
Yes, sir.
And I know has given his solution, but what is the solution? How can we fix this thing? And let me say that what we do is not working.
Mm-mm.
Well, I can tell you historically, and I'm sorry, that's an occupational hazard. What's had to happen historically is basically a cleanup. You know where the gangs are, and you know where the groups are.
Absolutely.
And get rid of the revolving door.
Yeah.
Get rid of the revolving door of the something happens and you happen to find out this guy's been arrested 41 times.
Well, I mean, it's like the one guy that the shooting up in Chattanooga.
Yes.
66 times that guy was arrested.
Yeah.
And still on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Toby, I totally agree with you. But we've let it grow and fester, and we've ignored it and tried to placate them and deal with them, and it's time, like you said. To clean it out.
Yeah, well, I said that's what they used to do. I'm not saying that's what we should do, although I'm not sure I would argue too much. But honestly, when a bad seed would come into a town, generally what would happen, now, again, we're not talking about towns the size of Meridian, right?
Sure.
But when a bad seed would come into town, generally on Sunday afternoon after church, the men would get together, all right, and the men would take care of the problem. The person would be run out of town, or the person would never bother anyone again. And I'm not suggesting that at all. But what I am suggesting is, and this was a discussion we had on this station a couple of years ago when the crime picked up again, and there was a concern that the feds were going to come in, and the feds were going to come in and basically take control of not the county but the city,
right?
And go in with special TAC teams and stuff and root out these guys. and move them on their way, or one way or the other. But
Based
I
on
don't.
the current
Right.
situation in this country, I don't have much confidence in the feds.
Well, see, that's the other thing too, is because law enforcement is just one of many institutions that for years had respect, and now it's under assault.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
parents, teachers, politicians, Congress, Supreme Court, President, all the longtime institutions are under assault. And I think it's organized. I think it's on purpose. I think it's to sow chaos, and so, but no, I don't see how you're going to stop this type of thing happening. A killer, a killer who's killed before will kill again, and the only way he won't be killed is if he's killed. I mean, that's because you follow these guys.
That's just a fact, isn't it?
Well, it's historically accurate. That's the best way to put it. And when these folks get into prison, they kill in there too.
Absolutely.
And and I've made no secret of this. My brother went to Penn State for a while, or we say Penn State, but it was State Penn. And he told me, he said, there are people in there who made one or two stupid mistakes, right? And they're good folks. They were desperate. They whatever, they made a couple of dumb mistakes. But there are people in there who should never see sunshine.
Wow.
He said evil exists. I know some philosophy classes say it doesn't, but evil exists, and sometimes it walks on two legs.
Well, it's just like a cancer, and what do you do with cancer?
You cut it out.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But if we did decide to clean it out, boy, we'd have to charter a bunch of buses, wouldn't we?
Whew. Good grief.
All right, you guys carry on. I'll be in the area all day. I can't match Has, but I just thought I would check in.
I think the only person that can match Has would be Joe.
Well, that would be a good matchup, I guarantee you.
Oh gosh.
No doubt about it. Bare knuckles, no holds barred.
She wins. That's where my money's going.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate it.
And on the other side, I mean, Ruth can hold her own sometimes pretty well.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
she and Has loved each other when they met each other.
There you go.
Remember that?
Absolutely.
That was bigger than Nixon going to China. Speaking of history.
There you go. 601-485-9191 is our number here on this Fun Friday. Hey, let's thank our friends down at Barber & Sons Plumbing. What do we always say, Toby? Buy local and support local. Support your local plumber.
That's right.
That's Gary
BLM,
Barber.
folks. BLM. Original meaning of that was buying local matters. All right. And Barber & Sons Plumbing, they'll take great care of you. Again, I'm not back in my house in Tupelo because apparently tornado pressure can do something to pipes. And we've had two plumbers out there. But you know what? They weren't two plumbers from Barber & Sons Plumbing. There you go. And I think that's why we're still dealing with it. And folks, plumbing can be nasty. I've talked about it before. You're in that cramped space. The wife hands you the wrong tool. The husband hands you the wrong tool. You get into an argument. You bring up her mother. Divorce lawyers get called. It's ugly. All right? Don't let that happen to you. 482-7023. 482-7023. Commercial, residential, no problem is too big, no problem is too small. They are the best. Barber & Sons Plumbing.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Mornings of Meridian, pay off some of our bills, and more of your phone calls as well at 485-9191. We'll be back.
extort money.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a strong word, Joe. Extort.
Well, it's true. I'm not scared. I told you that already.
That's a great question.
I just don't understand how this is possible.
Yeah, because it was funny. I went and paid my tag yesterday, and I paid my garbage fee back in January. So, yeah, I had to pay mine like that. So,
Unbelievable.
How many signs do they have up about that in the courthouse? I don't have like 18 signs that say, like where you look. Right?
we were standing in line yesterday, and I laughed at a sign that they have down in the in that office. It says "No profanity, please." I'm like, you have to put a sign up in the tag office, "No profanity, please." And then I heard a guy over there, your total is 600. Is like, yeah, that'd make me use a little profanity.
Oh, I thought it was for the employees.
Maybe.
Oh, okay. I was confused. Joe, you never use profanity, do you?
I'm sorry?
You never use profanity, do you?
Not moi. I'm just lucky when next to that sign, my picture's not there. 'Cause I was at that point. Let me just tell you, I was at that point.
Joe, we're right up against the Fox News break, but always good to hear from you, dear.
You know, I always love y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Joe.
I will have the phone issues just to get Joe on.
Absolutely.
So we had Haz and Joe in the first hour, so it's a complete day. But not quite yet, because we're going to talk about some storytelling coming up in just a few minutes. Got a lot of guests in, and I think we're going to have Ball and Ragsdale go at it again. So we'll have that visit coming up next. right, welcome back in. It is Mornings in Meridian here on this finally Friday, October the 6th, about 9 minutes into the 8 o'clock hour. Second hour, the two best hours of local live talk radio here in East Mississippi and West Alabama. You got Rob here and Dr. Toby Bates hanging out with us on a Friday.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I love coming on the fun days.
On the fun days, especially when we have a full house.
Indeed, we have, you know,
We're going to do roll call here in a minute.
Well, if you know my family's history, when I have the sheriff standing behind me, I get a little nervous, you know. So, I'm sorry, Deputy War Calhoun, Chief Deputy War Calhoun, sir, I'm sorry.
You just saw the badge, and that's the first thing you went to.
Yeah, well, I saw the results, too. But
exactly.
Anyway.
But we do have a full house in here this morning, and I guess you want to start your direction and go around and just introduce everybody, and we'll just kind of roll here. We got War Calhoun in the building this morning. Good morning, sir. We got Zane Royal in. Good morning, Zane.
Good morning.
We got Ann McKee. Good morning.
Hi there.
And Brad Hampton over here to the side as well.
Morning.
And I believe we got your friend on the line as well. Yep, he's calling in. Are you there, sir?
Yes, sir. Keith Jacoby, or a.k.a. Mr. John Ball.
There's John Ball right there, Mr. Ragsdale.
Oh, they will let anyone on that telephone, won't they?
I'm getting the hang of it, sir.
We still can't put them together in a room?
What do you do? Hold a soup can up to your ear, or?
Well,
If it works, don't knock it.
it's actually a ball mason jar.
Ball mason jar. I love it. Well, it's gonna. They're at it again. I love it. But it's all a part of another big event happening tomorrow. But before we talk about the event tomorrow, Ann, I want to talk about the Rose Hill Cemetery Tour. You guys had another successful year, right?
We absolutely did. I mean, this group, you know, every group is a little different. This group was so interested. Mm-hmm. They listened. They quietly went from stop to stop. That's a little different, isn't that, Mr. Ragsdale?
I know we get sometimes a little bit frisky.
Frisky is the word. It's a 10-acre cemetery. We don't want to lose anybody. You know, we tell them up front, stay with your group, but that doesn't always happen. It did this year. Y'all, it only took 15 years, but the group stayed together. They went from stop to stop. We may have had one little, clump that couldn't get on past, but that was just for a few minutes. Went all the way around. I believe we got everyone through the stories in about an hour and 15 minutes. Our gatekeeper extraordinaire, John Burton, held on to everybody and turned them loose when he was supposed to. And it was just a wonderful tour. Now, we think we had about 500 people, a little less this year, but there were 2 SEC football games going on. Actually, I wanted to stay home and watch the games, but I couldn't get out of going, and I'm glad I did.
When you mentioned that number earlier, Ann, and you told me that number, I was thinking about the football games last weekend, and you still had that many turn
Yes,
up.
we did.
That's extraordinary.
Wow, even with the ball games, I like it. So, but now we're going to switch gears and talk about another event that's coming up tomorrow, another storytelling event, right?
It is. This is a technique I learned when I worked through Mississippi Arts Commission on contract. I worked 10 years there, and they would teach us different ways with the arts to teach through telling history, for example. And this is Stories in the Round. And what we do, we circle all the chairs up at the museum that we can find. I was scavenging around yesterday trying to find all the chairs. We circle them up, and then the storytellers enter the circle. And they tell in a round fashion, face to face. And it's as though the storytellers are part of the story. You know, they just feel like they're stepping into that story. And that's what we want. That's what we want.
And, of course, this is in conjunction with the members of the Rose Hill Storytellers, because you got, a lot of the folks that are from that are going to be in this too, right?
Well, they're just our wonderful friends there at the museum. And so they've come out to tell stories about railroad history from 1854 to 1930.
And of course, I hear, Zane, there is going to be... Now, what character is Zane Royal playing?
I am Walton Moore Sr.
Walton Moore Sr.
I'm an old railroad man, and I actually built the railroad. And my my opinion of Mr. Ball and Mr. Ragsdale,
Oh boy.
we unload the rails off the train when we're building the track. We unload it off the train, then we have to drag it up where we're building the track. We use mules. They put out about the same thing comes out of the backside of that mule.
Hey, now, wait a minute.
Hold on
Whoa.
a second, Mr. Moore.
Hold on.
The working man built this town. They those fancy guys in big suits, the smooth, soft hands.
And we got to give
They didn't build this.
We got to give Mr. Ball and Mr. Ragsdale the opportunity to answer that.
No, now. Come on now. I built the roads and the streets. Well, I built some of them. Of course, Ball had to go and mess that part up.
Whoa.
Well, I was just trying to work in accordance with the railroad.
Hey, we got another new actor, a professional actor coming in here.
I've heard this.
He's paid, and I have not made the. I got a next board meeting. I've got to hopefully get his pay done. Otherwise, it's coming out of my pocket.
Ruff.
We have Buddy the Wonder Dog.
Buddy's an actor
playing
now?
a part.
Wow.
I think he's got a SAG card.
Wow. Buddy's got a SAG card now.
Well, when you get older, everybody gets one, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Buddy the Wonder Dog.
There was a dog named Shadow,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll learn his story tomorrow. Tomorrow. Next Friday. Yeah, tomorrow.
I think it's tomorrow.
You'll learn.
It's been crazy.
Tomorrow, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
You will learn Shadow's story about how he worked in the rail yard, and he was one of the early working dogs. This is before they had police dogs. Mm-hmm. Shadow worked the rail yard. He looked for hot boxes, air leaks, and he'd tell everybody when the train was coming in 10 minutes before it came in.
Wow, how about that? And, of course, I got Ward Calhoun here. I'm loving the new look you got here for the storytelling. I know we got our camera here. Let's share that mic there.
Yeah, I got one other thing.
You got one other thing before we get to Ward here?
Mr. Moore built the railroad.
Okay.
He was one of the men building the railroad. And everybody wonders, you see at Highway 11, there's a concrete pier standing out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And Mr. Walton Moore is going to tell a little bit about the story of how that thing got there and what it's doing
Okay,
there. So everybody
all right.
come down. If you want to know the story of how that concrete pier got there, come down and listen.
Be there tomorrow morning at 10.
And see Buddy the Wonder Dog playing his part.
That's enough right there for me to see Buddy.
Yeah, but the railroad did put a stop to a perfectly good feud, you killjoys.
It was a very good feud, Mr. Ragsdale.
Apparently not, because it's still going on today.
Well,
At least I hear it
that's true.
regularly.
Hey, Ward.
Good morning.
How are you, sir?
I'm well.
All right. We got the mustached Ward Calhoun
like
in here.
that.
I'm liking the look.
Yeah, well, it won't last much longer.
Won't last much longer. Sunday morning at about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Probably might be Saturday afternoon.
Saturday.
You don't like having a soup catcher?
It's not working for me.
But you do it for
well,
the
it's easier than the glued-on one that always comes off.
It always
and
does.
Looks like a caterpillar looking for a limb one side of it while I'm talking. And I'm constantly sticking it down. And so this year I said, well, I think I can fix that.
Well, tell everybody what part Mr. Calhoun is going to be playing.
Well, I'll be there as Mr. Charles Mayhew Rubush. He was built the depot along with lots of other things downtown. I also play him out at Rose Hill.
Mhm.
But tomorrow we'll be talking about the depot and about downtown Meridian and about how important the railroads were to Meridian back then and even today, but we just don't think about them as much. One of the comments I was talking with somebody about it yesterday is, today we think about the interstates. When we get ready to go somewhere, we generally get on an interstate.
Always, yeah.
Well, back then, if you're going somewhere, you're going to get on a train.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could go on some old, muddy, rutty roads, but you weren't going to go very fast.
Right.
You were going to take a while to get there. Right. The way to travel was the train. And, of course, not only passenger service, but also that's the way goods moved and still do across our country today. So the railroads have been important to Meridian from the very beginning and still are.
Toby, this is going to be so much fun to learn about. I mean, you're a history guy. I mean, this is right up your alley right here.
Well, railroads were the early interstates. Where the railroad went, civilization went. And and does anyone? I don't want to say it on the air if it's wrong. And again, we can cut it out later. But
Just do it. I mean, we'll be all right.
Is anyone talking about the guy that kind of messed up the railroad back in February of '64? Is his name?
Yes, I will take care of that gentleman.
Okay.
Whoa! That sounds like a threat there.
Yes.
I will take care
We're
of
still
that.
pretty mad about that.
You should be.
Yeah, we are.
Yep.
So that will be covered thoroughly.
Our little friendly firebug, I think, is what our name for him is.
Indeed. He practiced something across Mississippi that he later perfected in Georgia. So
There you go.
Ann's going to take care of that tomorrow.
I
Excellent.
will.
And of course, Ann, we talked about this off air. I want to bring this up as well. We got a big group coming in. I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, we need to talk about that as well
Yes,
too, right?
that's the National Rail Passenger Advocacy Group. I can't say that word. Say it for me, Toby.
Advocacy?
Yes, thank you. Group, and they will. They're some of them are here. And this afternoon I get to meet some of them at the 3 Foot. And we're excited because they're interested in our museum. And there's a possibility we can work together on some projects that is very needed. When I came to the museum back in March, my aim was to put railroads back into their proper place of history here in Meridian. And like Toby said a little while ago, or Ward forgot, we sort of have forgotten railroads, how important they are. Enterprise would be blowing and going today if they'd accepted the railroads. But they said, no, we don't want those dirty railroad people here. Meridian, and we were actually Sawashi Junction at the time, and we said, bring them on. And so that's why Meridian is here. And we are still a big railroad center.
I got to ask Ball and Ragsdale this. Are you guys going to be separated tomorrow? You going to be across the room from one another?
I don't know where we're going to be exactly.
I'm hesitant to put them in the same circle.
I was about to say this is going to be a circle type deal.
It is.
I mean, it's going to be like a boxing ring.
Now listen, you boys must behave because we're going to be right there in everyone's attention, right in the center. So
now I'm a cultured Southern gentleman, Miss Annie. I'm not going to get engaging in fisticuffs.
What about you, Miss?
Vertical fisticuffs. The Ball would carry himself no less than a proper gentleman.
Okay, listen, we have it on history here and on the air, so you got to behave. I heard you go to church together, so you must be good friends.
Have you
in one of our business meetings?
Have you been to a church lately and seen people who are not the best of friends? It gets chilly.
Especially the Wednesday night when all the parking lot is totally filled and you wonder what's going on. Something's going on.
Rob, real quick, I want to point out
absolutely
that just to say on behalf of the listeners and Rob and myself, thank you to all of you.
Absolutely.
Every single one of you, and including our gentleman on the phone, you guys are so involved in the community through business and through service already, and you add this to your plate. And I love the fact that this is oral history going on. This is living history going on. Adults $5, students free. Yes. And this is so important to make history come to life. Meridian has so much. And so just thank you for all that you guys are doing.
Thank you. That endorsement is huge to us. We want to learn more stories. So we ask the public, if your grandpa told you a story about working on the railroad and it's been passed down through the family or even further, like my great-great-grandfather worked here in Meridian at the rails. And so I have a few stories, but if you have them, please come out to the museum in the morning. We start at 10, and we're recording. We'll get your permission to use your story, and that way we can increase the number of wonderful things about this railroad that we should know and we should promote, but we don't know if you don't share.
Ward, I know you got a previous engagement you got to get to here in just a few minutes, but just your thoughts on this being involved. I know you've been involved with Rose Hill, but this is a different event here. Just tell us how much it means to be involved in this and tell the story of Meridian Lauderdale County.
It's exciting. I mean, I enjoy doing it. I think picked the bug up from Dad.
I was wondering if you were gonna go down that avenue or not.
Oh boy.
So did I.
Yeah.
And so and I try to every year I've challenged myself to find something new. Try to dig more and find out more about Charles Rubush, but just because obviously, I didn't know him. He died in 1911, but his youngest son, who's my great grandfather, I mean, I knew Paw, as I called him.
Right.
He died when I was 11 or 12. I wish now, you know, you always look back and say, man, I wish I'd have asked. You know, you just don't think about that as a kid.
Right.
But it's fun digging and trying to find out information, and I've been trying to do that with this. You know, what part he built the original depot, but you know, finding out the information about it, and then for me, it's interesting. We drive down these streets and these roads, and we go by locations, and we just don't know. And it's fun to find things out about a building or you know, somebody who lived in a certain spot that you know, it just kind of adds to everything that we know about our community. The roots of why we're here, you know, who did what here in the past. Those are, for me, those are interesting kind of things. So we try to share those things. Of course, at the cemetery, it's about those individuals that are buried out there. But there are a lot of other folks that aren't buried at Rose Hill that have been involved, that because of what they did in our community, we're living and enjoying the fruits of their labor and their decisions. The decisions they made, many of them make a difference for us today. We just don't realize it.
Absolutely.
Which should translate into us thinking about the decisions that we make, making good choices and decisions for our kids, our grandkids, and our great grandkids that'll come along behind us.
And Toby, I'm glad he brought that up because you're a historian. I mean, just you learn more and more and more when you do these type of events.
It makes a connection to an area, like you said, the tangible side of memory with the collective memories around it. Yeah. And it doesn't make you apathetic to what's going on in the world, but history is kind of a security blanket that if we stay true to the principles of the region and the country, we're going to be okay. And this fighting you're hearing about in politics right now and everything's getting upset. Come tomorrow and you'll hear what good old-fashioned disagreement used to sound like when two gentlemen would go at it. Right.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Well, at least one of them said thank you.
Well, thank you.
You're a gentleman. Go ahead and say thank you.
I'm a gentleman. Of course, now if you've seen us get into it, you know that we are not that gentlemanly when we have our disagreements. We tend to have some very colorful descriptions of one another.
G-rated but colorful.
G-rated but colorful.
Yes.
This is coming up tomorrow, 10 a.m. Adults $5. Students are free, and of course, this is going to be at 1805 Front Street.
Yes, next door to Earth's Bounty.
And see, I'm glad you brought that up. Do Earth's Bounty before that.
Sure, go early to Earth's and then come to us.
Come to y'all. So at 10 o'clock.
I wanted to mention that Mr. Ward Calhoun and Mr. Walton Moore were my mentors, and I would call Ward's dad so many times during one day at the time when I'm researching and all. And he had to have caller IDs because finally he would answer, yes-um.
Yes-um. I love it.
I can hear that.
Yes-um.
But what fun we had talking and researching and coming up with ideas. So Mr. Ward Calhoun and Mr. Walton Moore are always on my heart. And as we walk through these storytelling events telling Meridian history, I know they're smiling.
Absolutely. And of course, don't forget about Buddy. Zane, Buddy's going to be there as well. Buddy is going to be, I think that's going to be the treat for everybody tomorrow.
He might lick you to death, but he'll be there.
Which one?
Which
Zane?
one?
Oh, the dog.
That would be concerning.
Oh, okay.
Woof, woof.
Yeah.
But this is coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. It is hosted by the Meridian Railroad Museum in conjunction with the members from the Rose Hill Storytellers. It is storytelling event, Stories in the Round, and really encourage folks to be a part of this and come share their stories of the railroad. I think they will really get a kick out of this, and this is going to be a lot of fun. Of course, having the folks in town, too, from the preservation, that's going to be very good for you guys as well.
It will be. It was just a happy coincidence when I realized I set this date, and then wham, here they are. This is exciting.
All right, last discussion between Ball and Ragsdale before we wrap up the segment here. Mr. Ball, anything else you want to say to Mr. Ragsdale?
Well, I'll I'll tell Mr. Ragsdale I look forward to getting up there and seeing him, and I'll tell the listeners this is seriously something you want to come check out. There's not a lot that'll get me to drive up from Pensacola 2 weekends in a row.
2 weekends in a row, yeah.
But I'm telling you, this is worth driving. If it's worth driving up from Pensacola, it's worth driving across town to check out. Y'all are going to enjoy yourselves because we always do.
Well, I mean, he has the opportunity to be seen with the true founder of our
Oh,
fest.
here we go.
Oh, Lord.
Hey,
I'll take care of you tomorrow, sir.
The feud continues.
See,
the feud abides.
One tried to keep it classy, and the other one went in a different direction. You see how this works? So,
well,
We say they're feuding throughout eternity.
throughout eternity, I love it.
Like Ball will say, we're probably going to be feuding another 170 years, and I wouldn't be
Yes,
surprised.
sir.
That's exactly
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Coming up tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock at the Railroad Museum there on Front Street. Thank you, everybody, for coming by to see us this morning.
Y'all are so awesome. Thank you.
Thank y'all for having us.
Absolutely. And more, good to see you as well. And Zane, tell Buddy I said hello.
Come see him tomorrow.
There you go. So we're going to wrap up the segment here and do some Fox News. All right, welcome back in. 601-485-9191. What a fun event that's going to be tomorrow. The storytelling event, Stories in the Round, the early railroad history in Meridian. That's going to be a lot of fun. 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Adults, it's just $5. Students, free. It's going to be at 1805 Front Street here in Meridian. You got Earth's Bounty starting first thing in the morning.
Right.
When you get done there, go take part in this. I think it's going to be a blast.
And I really want to stress again this idea that if even if your family member is no longer here, if they have shared a story with you where they took part, with the railroad or had a railroad memory, please go down, because they're going to have video equipment, microphones, and everything, and they want to record this. This oral history is so important. And Zane made a great point also that a lot of these individuals' names, you don't hear about them in Mississippi history class. You don't read about them.
Nope.
But they were so important to this area and really subsequently our lives now. And I know a lot of people are concerned about our future and what's going on, but we don't need to lose that past.
No, we don't.
And the one I was going to share real quick was my grandfather, who passed away a few years ago at 94, was a big Jimmy Rogers fan. Kind of difficult to ride in the car with him sometimes because he would be playing Jimmy Rogers for the entire drive down from North Mississippi. And I like Jimmy Rogers.
Yeah.
I like Jimmy Rogers fine. Hard to nap in the car when there's yodeling, right?
Yodeling.
So we get down to the railroad tracks here, and the passenger car they had, my grandfather's eyes lit up because he had always told me this story about how he was late to catch the train to go to San Diego for World War II.
Wow.
And how he had to run and grab the train as it was leaving Tupelo. And he saw that passenger car, and he always called me Toby Boy. And he said, Toby Boy, that's the exact same kind of a car.
How about that?
And so he showed me, he reenacted it. He was 92 at the time.
That's great.
But he bucked out like Jesse Owens, and he was running, and he jumped up on the side. Of course,
That's
they had the floor pulled out a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that was a fun little memory, that we didn't know we were going to experience. And so it's a great place to go.
23 minutes away from the 9 o'clock hour, and some Glenn Beck here on the station, rather. But we need to thank Billy Adam Calvert and the staff down at Southern Business Supply. I tell you what, Billy does a lot of great stuff for us over in Jackson, representing the district well. But I tell you what, he owns a wonderful business, and that is Southern Business Supply, just right down the road here.
Right down the road, and folks, when you have a good team working for you, you want to keep them happy. Billy's got a great team, but if you have a team working for you, like I said, you want to keep them happy, you want to keep them healthy, and you can't do any better than buying what you need from Southern Business Supply. Now, of course, we're talking about the nice supplies, right? The toner, it's not going to run out. The pens aren't going to go dry, right? Supplies for the maintenance room and for the supply room and everything, janitorial supplies, break room supplies, but also furniture.
Yeah,
right?
People forget that.
Exactly right.
Yep.
And so, when you're sitting for a long, bit of time during the day and you're staring at a computer screen, right, you want a chair that's going to support you. You want a chair that's going to have some lumbar action going on back here.
Yep.
That also keeps you happy as well. And Billy's got that for you as well. So go by and see them. They're right down the road, 5685 Dale Drive, just right down from the station here. Give them a call at their office at 485-2447. 485-2447. He's even got a cell number he gives, right? And I'll throw that out once, 490-0652.
Blow it up! Call him!
If you have a business and you need supplies, you cannot do any better than Southern Business Supply.
I pick on Billy Adam. He knows I love him to death. He's one of my favorite people. So 21 minutes away from the 9 o'clock hour. One thing we haven't really covered here on the show, and I like to, I'm all about, we got to do local first, talk about local events, local what's going on, but we'll kind of switch gears a little bit and go to national, because I'm glad you're here on the show, because we can focus on this issue a little bit. We mentioned it a little bit yesterday, really didn't get into it a whole lot, but this Speaker of the House thing, from a historical standpoint, I watched that all go down live back on Tuesday, the vote to vacate. I mean, the tabled motion was defeated, obviously. They tried to, that was kind of McCarthy's last ditch effort, and it's never happened before. And boy, what a historical day it was Tuesday. A sad day, but a historical day as well.
A historical day. So as an historian, I loved it. It was fascinating to watch, but it had not gone down like this before. And, and a complaint we have nowadays, Rob, is that a small number of people are being extremely vocal.
It was 8 of them. Yeah.
Right. And are therefore changing what our pronouns are, changing what words we can say. change what statutes we can look at, what songs we can listen to. That's a belief that many people have. It's a very small group that's forcing all these changes. Well, this was a small group that forced a big change, as you said.
Yeah.
8 Republicans went with all the Democrats.
Sure.
And so what angered a lot of people, besides the fact that it 8, that small, again, minority pushing such a large change,
right,
is that we've got issues with the border, we have issues with crime, we have issues with Ukraine.
That's the sad part to me, is we got all these other issues, and this is what we're...
Right.
There's a word I'd like to use, but I'm not going to use it on radio.
Right.
But it starts with a B, and you know what I'm talking about.
And the one thing you can count on from the left, the one thing you can always count on from the Democrats, is they're going to stay together. They're going to toe whatever the marching orders are.
Well, I mean, you remember the 15 rounds of voting
right
back in January. They never wavered. It was
that's right
clear across the board for Hakeem Jeffries to be the speaker, and of course the Republicans just all over the stinking map, pulling this way, that way, and it looks like that's where we're going again.
Yes,
because as of right now, we have 2 gentlemen that are at the forefront that have thrown their hat into the ring, I guess you would say, for this position, which I don't know why anybody would want this position because of the headaches that come with it. Because unless you're Nancy Pelosi, I will give Nancy Pelosi credit for one thing. She kept the Democrats in line all the time. I'll give her that much. But whoever this is going to be, they're going to need a lot of prayer, for one. And number 2, they're going to need a lot of luck on their side, too, to swing votes, because you've got 2 guys right now in Steve Scalise, which I think everybody really likes him. Not just because of he's a majority whip there in the House right now. And, of course, he's got a great story, too. He's from Louisiana. And, of course, what happened on that ball field, we'll never forget that.
That's right.
But he's going through a cancer battle right now, too, and I think that hasn't really been brought to the forefront. I think Clay and Buck had mentioned that somewhat on their program the other day. And then you got Jim Jordan. Now, of course, Jim Jordan has been in the headlines a lot here recently. Of course, he's the head of the Judiciary Committee, and, boy, he has no fear. And can either one of these guys get the votes they need through a few rounds of voting, or are we going to go through what we went through back in January?
I wonder if we're not going to see January all over again.
I think we will.
Yeah, I don't see a Newt Gingrich in this group.
I don't either.
And the thing to remember about Newt, it's so easy to forget because it seems like a long time ago, but when Bill Clinton won in 1992 with 43% of the vote, thank you, Ross Perot, the Republicans were actually stunned. I mean, Bush had 91% just a year earlier.
Yeah.
Of course, he got elected because people were expecting Reagan's 3rd term.
Sure.
But he was the first sitting vice president to be elected in 140 years. We had had vice presidents become president.
Sure.
Resignation and death. And so when he is defeated, the Republicans were in complete disarray in 91 and 92, 93. And then what happened was Newt pulled it all together. And, with Clinton kind of borrowing some of the right-wing issues, right?
Yeah.
Crime and welfare reform, after he tried gays in the military and national health care behind closed doors. The Republicans were scattered, and Newt comes up with this contract with America, something that would fit on a card, right?
Yeah.
And remember, he had a little card he'd walk around
sure
with.
Did.
And he basically whipped them into shape. And Republicans, won Congress in 94. Not a single Republican incumbent lost in 1994. And it was it was the first time I think that they had the House since the 1950s.
Right.
And so, but I don't see a Newt. I don't see a Newt in this group, which is a sentence I never thought I would say.
And it's really, of course, the Trump factor always comes into play on anything with the Republicans right now. And of course, he has endorsed Jim Jordan for Speaker. I don't know how much weight that will carry in the majority with the Republicans. If you had 8 individuals who voted with the Democrats, how much weight will that carry with those folks? Are there people that are more moderate Republicans that are going to say, well, Trump supported Jordan, I'm never going to vote for Jim Jordan?
Right.
So because there are moderate Republicans in the House that feel the way they do about Trump. So how will the Trump factor weigh into this? So it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to go roll about. But McCarthy, in a way, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, kind of set himself up to fail from the beginning, because when you have that small little window where one person can basically throw a wrench into this whole gear and jam it up, you kind of are setting yourself up to fail already. And was it a sign of desperation back in January, like, hey, I'll cave to whatever just to get the gavel in my hand? I mean, is that pretty much how that all played out back in January?
Well, in my opinion, there were a lot of Republicans who didn't want him, but thought he's malleable. I can control him
somewhat. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. And when that turned out not to be the case, then that old anger came back, and they began to again move and plot against him. But you've also got some Republicans who are very upset because we have an extremely vulnerable president. Yeah. Right. And we have a very unpopular vice president.
Right.
And we have an economy that's not doing well. I know, guys, you can tell me it's medicine and it's good for me, but I can still taste it, and your Bidenomics aren't working right now.
It tastes like...
Yeah. And folks are also mad that we've got another student loan forgiveness.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday,
And President Biden said, well, they can't go out and buy a house. Well, they can't buy a house because of the interest rates. Thank you.
Yeah,
right?
Because a monthly mortgage right now is $1,000 higher than it was this time a year ago.
That's right.
And that's being somewhat fair.
That's right. And what about a family where the husband and the wife are working multiple jobs, trying to keep a roof on their head? They wouldn't mind some debt forgiveness.
Sure.
That'd be kind of cool, right? So we have a very vulnerable incumbent right now.
Where's my check at? I paid my loan back on my student. Wait a minute.
Indeed.
Just asking.
And so now what we have, though, instead of Republicans, again, like in 94, putting this message together, right, we have infighting.
Yeah.
Who's going to be this, and it's almost like these, unfortunately, the Republican Party is engaging a lot of this tribalism right now that's become major across all of politics, where these little groups are getting together, right, and it's their way or no way.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you who's really happy about this is Robert Kennedy Jr.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Big announcement this Monday.
Absolutely, and he's going to run as the third-party candidate.
That's right.
And you know what? I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit, because the Democrats have basically buried him and say, hey, no. And he's like, you know what? Watch this. That's basically what it boils down to. So, and what's surprising about that, not surprised that he's going to run as a third-party candidate once the official announcement comes out, is that according to polling, which buy whatever poll you want to buy, 48% of Republicans see him very favorably.
Sure. For right or wrong reasons, they see him as the old-fashioned Democrat.
Yeah.
And some of that's memory.
Yeah, I think so.
The last president we had named Kennedy, his famous, a little thing happened to say in January '61 was, ask not what your country can do for you, which is, boy, howdy where we are now.
Yeah.
But what you can do for your country. And so if he's an old 60s liberal coming in, because old 60 liberals believed in cutting taxes. They believed in a strong military, right? And so this might be the best time maybe since 1912. We've had a chance where an independent, especially whoever he names as his running mate.
That's big there too. You're right.
Because Tulsi Gabbard's name's popping up, and a few others. But no, it wasn't only historical about McCarthy, it was also extremely sad. Because if you are conservative, if you are a Republican, even if you want a McCarthy gone, the fact that you're having to do that right now, when you've got an extremely vulnerable, opponent coming up, and we'll be having an election in about a year.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Right.
But bottom line is, before we get to our next advertiser here on the program, politically, it was a move by Gates. But when you saw the press conferences back on Tuesday after it all went down, very personal, too.
Yes.
Very personal between Gates and McCarthy. So there's a lot more in there.
That's right.
That's being brought to light. So there's very personal between those two.
And that will come up, too.
Yeah, it will. Yeah. It will. So 601-485-9191 is our number if you want to jump in on the program here. We got a few minutes left. Let's thank our friends Adam and Adam down at A&A Glass. There is no divide when it comes to serving the customers down at A&A Glass.
Every time I see an A in my occupation, I feel great. Because I know that someone has mastered a topic, someone has perfected, a particular narrative. And when I see two A's in A&A Glass, and I see, Adam and Adam, McCree and Carmichael, I know people are at the top of their game. And folks, and a windshield, strength of windshield is so important. Windshields today are not just glass. It's two pieces of glass. They got goop in the middle. They're supposed to take particular impacts a certain way. Even side impacts, a windshield's supposed to behave in a certain way. And if you have cracks, if you have dinks and danks that you haven't taken care of, that windshield will not do what it's designed to do, quite likely, and your loved ones and yourself and others could be in danger. So give a call to 693 Glass or go down and see them right next to the Children's Museum. I still call it the new right?
Yeah,
The new location.
Yeah.
And that's good to say because it tells you how long A&A Glass has been doing what they've been doing when you think about, oh, yeah, they're in that new location, right? They're not brand new to what they're doing. They've been great for a long, long time, but they're down by the Children's Museum. Go by and see them. Take a look at what you got. 693 Glass, 693 4527 A&A Glass.
Got a lot of birthdays coming up this weekend. Tony Dungy, former NFL coach, love Coach Dungy. He is celebrating his 68th birthday today. A lot of birthdays this weekend. Chevy Chase is celebrating a birthday this weekend. He is turning 80. And I thought, and John Mellencamp's turning 72 this weekend. And I thought this was very, very ironic. Two people that share the same birthday tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Joy Behar,
oh boy,
is turning 81 tomorrow, and Russian President Vladimir Putin is turning 71 tomorrow. And for that, you guys get this.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Vladimir. Happy birthday to you.
How ironic is that Joy Behar and Vladimir Putin have the same birthday?
Well, she does have red hair. You know?
The jokes write themselves. Low-hanging fruit. We're going to take a break and wrap up the show after this. All right, got just a few minutes left here on Mornings in Meridian. Thank you for making us a part of your Friday. Of course, Glenn Beck is on the way at 9, followed by Clay and Buck at 11, and, of course, the great Sean Hannity at 2, and then my man, Joe Pags, a little bit later on your drive home at 5. And we need to thank our friend, boy, I tell you what, Jeffrey Wilson. Can't say enough about what he does here in the community. He's involved in a lot of different organizations, but your local State Farm insurance agent is Jeffrey Wilson.
That's right. Local, you can meet him, you can shake his hand, you can get him on the telephone, and that's so important, as you know, with what I've been going through. And my insurance is also with State Farm, and folks, I have no complaint. I lost my home. Got it back. They have yet to say boo about anything we've claimed. Fantastic folks, and they've got me forever. So if you're thinking about auto or personal or home or boat, vacation, condo, liability umbrella, whatever you want to call it, right? Know the insurance company is going to take care of you, and know your agent. Not any better than Jeffrey Wilson, folks. Give him a call. Talk to him. 601-483-8253. 601-483-8253. 8253. No voicemail, no AI, a good Southern fella, Jeffrey Wilson. Give him a call. Jeffrey Wilson, State Farm.
And, folks, if you get your weekend started here in just a few minutes, if you're making a little trip out of town, go ahead and get you a nice, delicious meal there at the Magnolia Restaurant inside the Queen City Truck Stop just off of exit 150. You can go with a breakfast item. I personally like the old pancakes down there, the old short stack. Oh, it's so good. Of course, they got the long haul breakfast there as well. And it is Friday, and on the menu today is fish. They've got the fried fish fillets, and it's not those just kind of gummy ones that just kind of have that little bad aftertaste. This is good stuff right here off the menu.
And both ends aren't that big over fried stuff. It's all meat.
It's all meat.
Fish.
And of course, my personal favorite, we actually got a to-go plate there last Sunday. I love Thanksgiving any time I can get it, and turkey and dressing was so good. And I got some yams there with it too. Oh, it was so good.
And is the stuffing still real light and everything?
Yes, so and they had the cranberry sauce in there too. It was perfect. I mean, Thanksgiving anytime. Of course, they serve that. I know on Sundays down at the Magnolia Restaurant. Of course, go by and see them just off of exit 150. And I tell you what, the coffee's always hot there in the morning. And like I said, don't go through the drive-through and get that nasty in the bag mess. Do local.
Yeah.
Do local.
Don't do the heat
with Ted and the folks out there at the Magnolia Restaurant inside the Queen City Truck Stop off of exit 150. So recapping a lot that's going on this weekend. Of course, we talked about the storytelling event that is coming up tomorrow at the Railroad Museum. That will start at 10 o'clock bright and early there. But before that, you got Earth's Bounty getting started at 8.
That's right.
And, of course, they're celebrating a big anniversary this weekend. They're going to have a birthday cake down there tomorrow, and they're going to have some extended hours all the way up until 2 o'clock. And also want to give a big shout-out to our friends over at the Fleet Reserve Association on 39 North. They're having a fish fry fundraiser for Hope Village tomorrow as well. That's going to begin at 2 o'clock. And, of course, they're located on Highway 39 North. Fish plates are 10. Shrimp is 15. But if you're like me, you want a little bit of it all, you can get a fish and shrimp plate for $20, and all of those plates are going to include coleslaw and potato salad. Donations are appreciated as well. Every single dollar is going to go back to the Hope Village organization, and that's going to be at the Fleet Reserve, 2 o'clock tomorrow there on 39 North. And finally, if that's not enough, if you're a foodie like me, go ahead and call Mr. Fred Bean there with the E.J. Knox King Solomon Masonic Lodge. They're holding their annual Boston Butt Sale tomorrow as well. If you'd like to purchase one of those butts, they're $30. You can drop by 5073 Russell Thompson Road in Tube Suba to make those pickups. But call Fred ahead of time to get your order in. That is 601-480 9301. That's his cell number there. Pickup time is going to be from 8 until noon tomorrow. So you got fish, you got shrimp, you got Boston Butts, you got birthday cake at Earth's Bounty. You've got storytelling at the Railroad Museum. They got morning at Meridian, Mary Hope rather. Morning at Mary Hope is happening this weekend as well. You got a big concert at the Riley Center coming up tomorrow night as well. I don't want to hear anybody say, "Hey,
right?" And I'm still a little confused from my
guest. And I probably missed something.
I'm sure we did, but again, I'm a little confused about the storytelling event. Folks from our guest earlier, either Zane or Buddy the dog will lick you. One will lick you.
I know, right?
I was confused on that.
Controversy.
That's right.
So, but anyway, folks, get out and support these great events. And plus, it's going to cool down a little bit tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
The highs are only going to be in the mid to upper 70s tomorrow, so it's going to be beautiful weather. I know a lot of folks are going to be doing the football thing tonight. And, of course, full moon on 5th is tonight as well at 6 o'clock. Didn't want to forget about that. Knew I was going to forget something because there's just so much going on. So, yeah, full moon on 5th is tonight at 6. So
you're on top of it all, bud.
So you got your whole weekend planned out there. If you do the football thing, that's fine. Do full moon on 5th tonight, and you got an array of stuff going on tomorrow.
That's right.
So,
all local.
All local, too. Support Meridian. So, well, folks, that's going to wrap things up. Toby, always good to see you.
Thanks for having me in again.
Absolutely. Folks, have a great weekend. Stay safe. And what do we always say? Buy local.